The fluorescent lights of the grocery store buzzed overhead like angry wasps, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that made my reflection in the freezer doors look even more washed out than usual. I clutched my shopping basket tighter, the plastic handle digging into my palm as I stared at the rows of discount chicken breasts, trying to calculate if I could stretch one package across 4 dinners. The cold air from the open freezer section raised goosebumps on my arms, seeping through my thin cardigan, the same one I'd been wearing for 3 years, the elbows now threadbare and pilling. My phone buzzed in my pocket, rent reminder. I dismissed it without looking at the amount. I already knew I was $200 short this month. The store smelled of industrial floor cleaner and overripe produce, mingling with the faint scent of rotisserie chicken from the hot deli counter, a luxury I hadn't allowed myself in months. My sneakers squeaked against the linoleum as I moved through the aisles, my shopping basket embarrassingly light. Rice, dried beans, the cheapest pasta, a single can of tomato sauce. This was my life now, at 26 years old, counting pennies and skipping meals. I turned the corner into the cereal aisle, and my heart stopped. Marcus. He stood there in the center of the aisle like he owned it, wearing a crisp white button-down that probably cost more than my entire month's groceries. His arm was draped around a woman I didn't recognize, tall, polished, with honey blonde hair that cascaded down her back in perfect waves. She wore heels in a grocery store, actual heels. Her diamond tennis bracelet caught the light as she reached for a box of organic granola. I tried to back away before he noticed me, but the universe had never been that kind. Emma? His voice carried that same condescending tone I'd grown to hate during our 3 years together. Emma Richardson? Is that really you? I forced myself to turn, to paste on something resembling a smile. Marcus. Hi. His eyes raked over me, taking in my worn clothes, my makeup-free face, my basket full of discount items. I watched his expression shift from surprise to something worse. Pity mixed with smug satisfaction. The blonde beside him looked confused, her perfectly shaped eyebrows drawing together. Wow, you look. He paused, as if searching for a diplomatic word. Different. Translation. Terrible. I looked terrible, and we both knew it. I've been busy, I said, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be, working a lot. Still at that coffee shop? The way he said it made my job sound like something shameful, something beneath him. I thought you'd have moved on to something more substantial by now. The blonde's hand tightened on his arm. She'd figured out who I was, the ex-girlfriend. The one who'd been unceremoniously dumped 6 months ago when Marcus decided I wasn't ambitious enough for his rising career at his father's investment firm. Actually, I'm managing now. I lied. I wasn't managing anything except to survive each day. That's great. Really great. He didn't sound like he thought it was great at all. His gaze dropped to my left hand, hanging empty at my side. No ring yet? The words hit like a slap. The blonde beside him giggled, actually giggled, and I felt something inside me crack. My cheeks burned with humiliation, heat crawling up my neck despite the cold air from the freezers. We're actually just picking up a few things before heading to look at wedding venues, the blonde offered, her voice sugary sweet, but her eyes sharp. She held up her own left hand, where a massive diamond caught the light. Marcus proposed last month in the Maldives. It was absolutely magical. Last month. He'd started dating her before our relationship had even been cold in the grave. Congratulations, I managed, the words sticking in my throat. You should come to the engagement party, Marcus interrupted, and I knew from the glint in his eyes that this was intentional cruelty. Next Saturday at the Metropolitan Club. It would be great to have you there. You know, to show there's no hard feelings. To show everyone how far he'd moved up while I'd sunk down. To parade me around as proof of his upgrade. I insist. His smile was all teeth, predatory. Consider this your official invitation. It'll be good for you to get out, meet people, network. You never know who might be there. The blonde was practically vibrating with suppressed laughter. This was entertainment for them, the poor ex-girlfriend in her discount clothes, alone and struggling while they planned their perfect wedding. I really should go, I said, backing away. My shift starts soon. It didn't. I had the day off, but I couldn't stand there another second, couldn't bear the weight of their judgment. their pity, their satisfaction at seeing me brought so low. I turned and walked away as quickly as I could without running, abandoning my basket on a random shelf. I'd lost my appetite anyway. Behind me, I heard the blonde's voice, pitched to Carrie. "She seems sad. Do you think she's still hung up on you?" Marcus's response was too quiet to hear, but they both laughed. I made it to the parking lot before the tears came, hot and angry against my cold cheeks. The late autumn wind whipped through the nearly empty lot, carrying the smell of coming rain and exhaust fumes. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking, my vision blurred. That's when I heard it. The low purr of an engine, expensive and powerful, completely out of place in this budget grocery store parking lot. I looked up, wiping my eyes, and that's when I saw the car. It was black, sleek as a shadow, with windows tinted so dark they looked like pools of ink. A Mercedes S-Class, maybe. I didn't know cars, but I knew money when I saw it, and this vehicle breathed wealth from every polished surface. It had pulled into the spot directly next to my battered Honda Civic, which suddenly looked even more pathetic by comparison. The rear door opened. First, a shoe, black leather, Italian, gleaming even in the dim parking lot light. Then a leg, clad in charcoal gray trousers with a knife-edge crease. The man who emerged moved with the kind of fluid grace that spoke of absolute confidence, of someone who'd never questioned his place in the world. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a three-piece suit that had definitely been tailored specifically for his frame. Dark hair, slightly longer on top, swept back from a face that could have been carved from granite. Strong jaw, high cheekbones, a mouth set in a naturally stern line. But it was his eyes that made my breath catch. Dark, almost black in the fading light, and intensely focused. On me. I realized I was staring and quickly looked away, digging through my purse for keys I'd already found. My heart hammered against my ribs for reasons I didn't want to examine. There was something about him, something that made the air feel heavier, charged with a kind of danger I couldn't name. 2 more men had exited the vehicle, one from the driver's seat, one from the front passenger side. Both wore dark suits. Both had the build of people who could break bones without breaking a sweat. They didn't look at me, but they positioned themselves in a way that seemed protective, strategic. The man in the 3-piece suit took a step closer, and I caught his scent. Expensive cologne, cedar and something darker, mixed with the clean smell of luxury soap. My fingers tightened around my keys until the metal bit into my palm. "You're crying," he said, and his voice was like smoke. Low, textured, with an accent I couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe, or somewhere in that region. "I'm fine," I said automatically, trying to angle my body toward my car door. My hand shook as I tried to unlock it, missing the keyhole twice. "You don't look fine." He moved closer, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. This close, I could see a small scar cutting through his left eyebrow, a thin white line that somehow made him look more dangerous rather than less. "Did someone hurt you?" The question was casual, but something in the way he asked it made my skin prickle, like he was genuinely asking if he needed to hurt someone back. "No, it was a bad day. I'm sorry, I should go." I finally managed to get my key in the lock, but as I pulled the door open, it caught on something. I turned to look and saw his hand, one large palm resting on the top of my door, keeping it from opening further. "Wait," he said, and it wasn't a request. I should have been scared. Some part of my brain was screaming that this was dangerous, that I should get in my car and lock the doors and drive away, but another part, a louder part, was mesmerized by the intensity of his gaze, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. I started, but he cut me off. "Your car." He glanced at my Civic, his expression unreadable. The back tire is flat. I turned to look, and my heart sank even further. He was right. The rear driver's side tire was completely deflated, the rim nearly touching the pavement. I must not have noticed when I'd parked. "Of course it is," I whispered, feeling the last of my composure crack. "Of course." I didn't have money for a tow truck. I barely had money for dinner, and I had no one to call. No one who would drop everything to help me. The tears came back, hot and humiliating, and I couldn't stop them. "Hey." His voice softened, and suddenly there was a handkerchief in front of me. Actual cloth, monogrammed with initials I couldn't make out. "Don't cry." "I'm sorry," I choked out, taking the handkerchief because what else could I do? It smelled like him, that cedar scent mixed with something uniquely masculine. "I'm sorry. This is so embarrassing. I'll call someone. Get in the car," he said. I looked up at him, confused. "What? My car. Get in." He gestured to the Mercedes, where one of his men had opened the rear door again, waiting. "I'll have someone take care of your tire. You shouldn't be alone like this." Every self-preservation instinct I had screamed at me to refuse, to insist I was fine, to not get into a car with strange men no matter how expensive their suits were. But I was so tired of being strong, of handling everything alone, of pretending I was okay when I was drowning. And there was something in his eyes, something that promised safety, even as every logical part of my brain recognized danger. "I don't even know you," I said weakly. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "No, you don't. But you will." He extended his hand, palm up, waiting, an invitation, a choice. Behind me, through the grocery store windows, I could see Marcus and his fiancée at the checkout, still laughing about something. Still living their perfect life while mine fell apart in a budget grocery store parking lot. I looked at the hand in front of me, strong, scarred across the knuckles, attached to a man who radiated power and danger in equal measure. I took it. His fingers closed around mine, warm and sure, and he guided me toward the Mercedes. The interior was cream leather, pristine and smelling of luxury. As I slid across the seat, I caught a glimpse of Marcus through the window, his eyes widening as he recognized the car, the men, the unmistakable air of money and power. The man in the three-piece suit settled beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat of him. One of his men closed the door with a soft, final click. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He leaned back, those dark eyes studying me with an intensity that made my pulse race. "Somewhere safe." As the car pulled out of the parking lot, smooth as silk, I realized I'd just made either the best or worst decision of my life. And I had no idea which. The Mercedes glided through the city streets like a shark through dark water, silent, powerful, predatory. I sat rigidly in my seat, hyper-aware of the man beside me, of the expensive leather beneath my cheap jeans, of the two silent bodyguards in the front who hadn't spoken a single word since we'd started driving. "What's your name?" His voice cut through the silence, making me jump. "Emma," I said, then added stupidly, "Emma Richardson. Emma." He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting the syllables. "I'm Dante. Just Dante. No last name offered. Something told me not to ask for one." "Thank you," I said, clutching his handkerchief in my lap, "for the help with my car. You didn't have to." "That man in the store." Dante's interruption was smooth but absolute. "The one who made you cry. Who is he?" I stiffened. "How did you—" "I saw him through the window, saw the way he looked at you, the way you ran." His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Who is he?" "Nobody," I said quickly. "Just my ex-boyfriend. It's not important." "Everything about you is important." The words hung in the air between us, loaded with meaning I didn't understand. I turned to look at him fully for the first time since entering the car. In the dim interior light, his features were all sharp angles and shadows, dangerous, beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. "You don't even know me," I whispered. "Not yet." He shifted slightly, and suddenly his hand was on my chin, tilting my face toward his with a gentleness that contradicted the intensity in his eyes. His touch sent electricity through my skin. "But I will. Tell me what he said to make you cry." I should have pulled away, should have demanded he take me home, but there was something hypnotic about his focus, about being the center of such absolute attention. "He asked if I was engaged yet," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. In front of his new fiancée, he wanted to humiliate me, and it worked. Dante's thumb brushed across my cheekbone, catching a tear I didn't know had fallen. His name. It doesn't matter. His name, Emma. The command in his voice made something low in my stomach clench. Marcus. Marcus Thornton. Something flickered across Dante's face, there and gone so quickly I might have imagined it. He released my chin and pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. Then he looked at the driver. "Take us to the penthouse, Lorenzo." "Wait," I said, panic suddenly cutting through whatever spell he'd woven. "I can't go to your home. I don't know you. You're safe with me, Emma." He pocketed his phone and turned those dark eyes back to me. "I promise you that. You are completely safe. That's what every serial killer says right before." He laughed, and the sound transformed his face, making him look younger, less severe. "I'm not a serial killer, though I understand your concern." He gestured to the bodyguards, to the expensive car, to himself. "This must all seem very strange." "Strange is an understatement. Let me make you a deal." He shifted to face me more fully, and I was struck again by his sheer presence, the way he seemed to take up all the oxygen in the car. "Come to my home. Have dinner with me. Let me ensure you're calm and safe before sending you home. If at any point you want to leave, you leave. No questions asked." "Why?" The question burst out of me. "Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why do you care if some random woman in a parking lot is crying?" His expression grew serious again, that intense focus returning. "Because when I saw you standing there, with tears on your face and defeat in your eyes, something in me decided you were mine to protect." He paused, seeming to choose his next words carefully. "And what's mine, I keep safe." I should have been terrified by that possessive statement. Should have demanded to be let out of the car immediately. But instead, warmth bloomed in my chest. Unfamiliar and dangerous. "One dinner," I heard myself say, "and then I go home." "One dinner," he agreed. But something in his smile suggested he knew it wouldn't end there. The car pulled up to a high-rise building in the most expensive part of the city, the kind of place I'd only ever seen in magazines. A doorman rushed to open our door, greeting Dante with a deferential nod that spoke of familiarity and respect. Or maybe fear. It was hard to tell the difference. The lobby was all marble and gold, with crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years. My sneakers squeaked against the polished floor as we walked to a private elevator, Lorenzo and the other bodyguard flanking us like silent shadows. "You live here?" I asked stupidly, because obviously he did. "Top floor." Dante's hand settled on the small of my back, guiding me into the elevator. The touch was light, almost casual, but I felt it like a brand through my thin cardigan. The elevator rose smoothly, no numbers displayed, just a single button marked P. Penthouse. Of course. When the doors opened directly into an apartment, I had to work to keep my jaw from dropping. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city, the light sprawling out like a carpet of stars. The space was enormous, all clean lines and expensive furniture, modern art on the walls that I suspected might be original pieces. Everything was in shades of black, white, and gray, with touches of deep blue. It looked like a place where someone very powerful lived, someone important, someone dangerous. "Lorenzo, have the chef prepare dinner for 2, Dante said, removing his suit jacket and draping it over the back of a leather chair. "And send someone to handle Miss Richardson's car. I want it fixed and delivered to her address by morning." "You don't have to," I started. "I want to." He rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. "Sit, please. You look exhausted." I perched on the edge of a sofa that probably cost more than my annual salary, feeling desperately out of place. Dante disappeared into what I assumed was the kitchen, returning moments later with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "I don't usually drink," I said as he poured. "Tonight you do." He handed me a glass, his fingers brushing mine. "You've had a difficult day." The wine was probably expensive. Everything about him was expensive, but I wouldn't have known the difference. I took a sip anyway, letting the warmth spread through me. Dante sat beside me, closer than strictly necessary, his thigh nearly touching mine. "Tell me about yourself, Emma Richardson." "There's not much to tell." I took another sip of wine, bigger this time. "I work at a coffee shop. I live alone in a studio apartment that's too expensive. I have a degree in English literature that I'm doing nothing with. I'm completely ordinary. I doubt that. His gaze traveled over my face like he was memorizing it. What happened with Marcus? We dated for 3 years. He decided I wasn't ambitious enough, that I was holding him back from his potential. The wine was making me honest, loosening the tight control I usually kept on my emotions. He wanted someone who fit better into his world, someone polished and successful and fake, Dante supplied. Someone fake. Someone better than me. His hand shot out, gripping my chin with more force than before, making me look at him. Never say that again. It's true. It's not. His voice was hard, brooking no argument. That fool had something precious and threw it away because he's too stupid to recognize value. That makes him worthless, not you. I stared at him, shocked by the vehemence in his voice, by the anger on my behalf from a man who'd known me for less than an hour. You don't know me well enough to say that, I whispered. Then let me know you. His grip softened, his thumb tracing my jawline. Let me prove to you what you're worth. Before I could respond, Lorenzo appeared in the doorway. Dinner is ready, boss. Boss. The word registered dimly in my wine-hazed brain. What exactly did Dante do that his bodyguard called him boss? The dining room was as impressive as the rest of the apartment, with a table that could seat 12, but was set intimately for 2 at one end. The food was incredible. Pasta in a cream sauce with fresh herbs, grilled vegetables, bread that was still warm. I hadn't eaten a proper meal in weeks, and I had to force myself not to inhale it like a starving animal. Dante watched me eat with an expression that might have been satisfaction. He barely touched his own food, seemingly more interested in ensuring I finished mine. Better? He asked when I'd cleaned my plate. Much better, I admitted. Thank you. For all of this. It's been... I struggled to find words. It's been a really long time since anyone took care of me like this. Something dark flashed across his face. How long? I don't know. Years, maybe. I pushed my plate away, suddenly self-conscious. I'm not used to asking for help or accepting it. You'll get used to it. He stood, extending his hand. Come, I want to show you something. He led me to the windows, where the city sparkled below us like a living thing. From this height, everything looked small, manageable. The view must have cost a fortune. When I first came to this city, I had nothing, Dante said, standing close enough that I could feel his warmth. I built everything you see from scratch. Every piece of it. What do you do? I asked, though part of me wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. I solve problems. His reflection in the window smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I help people who can't help themselves. I protect what's mine. There was that possessive language again, and I should have questioned it, should have demanded clarity. Instead, I found myself leaning slightly toward him, drawn by gravity I couldn't resist. Emma. My name on his lips sounded like a prayer. I want to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. Okay, I breathed. He turned me to face him, his hand settling on my waist, spanning the width of it easily. That party your ex invited you to. The engagement party. Are you planning to go? No, of course not. Why would I torture myself like that? What if I asked you to go? His thumb stroked small circles on my hips, distracting and deliberate. What if I asked you to go with me? I blinked up at him, confused. Why would you want to go to my ex's engagement party? Because I want to see the look on his face when you walk in on my arm. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. I want him to see what he lost, what he threw away. I want him to understand that you are worth more than he could ever comprehend. Dante, that's crazy. You don't say yes, Emma. His forehead touched mine, and I could smell the wine on his breath, the cedar of his cologne. Let me show you what it's like to be valued. Let me show him what a mistake he made. It was insane. All of this was insane. I'd met this man 2 hours ago in a parking lot, and now I was in his penthouse, being offered as a date to my ex's engagement party by someone who looked at me like I was something rare and precious. I should say no. Should thank him for dinner, ask to be taken home, and never see him again. Yes, I whispered instead. His smile was triumphant, possessive, and it should have scared me. Instead, it made heat pool low in my belly. Good girl, he murmured, and the praise made me shiver. I'll have Lorenzo take you home now. But first... He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then showed me the screen. Your number. I'll need it to coordinate for Saturday. I recited it automatically, watching him save it under just Emma. Not even my last name. Like I was the only Emma that mattered. One more thing, he said as Lorenzo appeared to escort me down. What you're wearing to the party, I'll have something sent to you. You don't have to. His finger pressed against my lips, silencing me. I want to. Let me do this for you, Emma. Let me take care of you. The kiss he pressed to my forehead was chaste, almost brotherly, but it seared through me like a brand, a promise, a claim. As Lorenzo drove me home in the Mercedes, my head spun with wine and confusion, and the lingering scent of cedar, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Emma. Saturday. I'll show you what you're worth. I stared at the message as we pulled up to my shabby apartment building, reality crashing back in. What had I just agreed to? Who was Dante, really? And why did his attention feel both like salvation and danger wrapped in expensive cologne? I fell asleep that night with his handkerchief pressed to my face, breathing in his scent, and dreamed of dark eyes and promises I didn't understand. When I woke the next morning, there was a text waiting. Your car is outside. Check under the driver's seat. D. I rushed down in my pajamas to find my Civic parked perfectly, the tire fixed, the entire car washed and detailed until it gleamed. Under the driver's seat was an envelope. Inside was $5,000 in cash and a note in elegant handwriting. For the rent you're worried about and the meals you've been skipping, don't argue. D. I stared at the money, my hands shaking. What had I gotten myself into? The next 3 days passed in a surreal haze. I went to work at the coffee shop, pulled espresso shots, smiled at customers, and pretended my entire world hadn't tilted sideways, but every quiet moment, my mind drifted back to Dante, his intense gaze, his possessive words, the casual way he'd handed me $5,000 like it was pocket change. I'd tried to text him, to tell him I couldn't accept the money. His response had been immediate. You can, and you will. It makes me happy to take care of you. Don't deny me that. How was I supposed to argue with that? Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Miss Richardson? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. I'm calling from Nouveau Boutique. We have a package here for you from Mr. Salvatore. When would be convenient for you to come in for your fitting? Mr. Salvatore. So that was his last name, Dante Salvatore. I'm sorry. Fitting for what? Your dress for Saturday evening, Mr. Salvatore was very specific about the style and timing. We'll need at least 2 hours to ensure everything is perfect. I should have said no, should have told them there was a mistake. Instead, I heard myself asking, when did you have in mind? By Thursday evening, I was standing in the most expensive boutique I'd ever entered, surrounded by mirrors and soft lighting, wearing a dress that cost more than 3 months of my rent. It was midnight blue, the color of the sky right before full dark, and it fit like it had been sewn onto my body. The neckline was elegant but modest, the fabric draped in ways that made my figure look like something out of a dream. When I moved, the dress caught the light, shimmering subtly. Mr. Salvatore has excellent taste, the saleswoman murmured, adjusting the hem. He knew exactly what would suit you. Has he done this before? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Bought dresses for women. The saleswoman's expression remained professionally neutral. Mr. Salvatore is a valued client, but I've never seen him take such personal interest in a selection before. Usually, he simply provides measurements and lets us choose. For you, he described every detail he wanted. The color, the cut, even the fabric weight. My reflection stared back at me, transformed. I barely recognized myself. There are shoes as well, she continued, producing a box with heels that matched the dress perfectly. And Mr. Salvatore arranged for hair and makeup to come to your residence Saturday afternoon. They'll arrive at 3. This is too much, I whispered. Miss Richardson. The saleswoman met my eyes in the mirror. May I speak candidly? I nodded. I've worked in this boutique for 15 years. I've dressed senators' wives, celebrities, women who think spending $50,000 on a dress is reasonable, but I've never seen a man look at fabric swatches the way Mr. Salvatore did when choosing this dress. She adjusted the shoulder delicately. He wanted you to feel beautiful, to feel valued, whatever is happening between you two. That man is serious about it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Dante. Lorenzo tells me you're at the boutique. Does it fit? It's perfect. I typed back. Too perfect. This is too much. Nothing is too much for you. I'll pick you up at 6 on Saturday. Wear your hair down. Even his texts were commands. But somehow I didn't mind. Friday dragged by with excruciating slowness. I worked my shift, deflected questions from my coworker Sarah about why I seemed so distracted, and tried not to think about what I was doing. Going to Marcus's engagement party on the arm of a mysterious, wealthy man who'd known me for less than a week. It was insane. My phone rang at midnight. Dante. You should be sleeping, he said instead of hello. His voice was rough, like he'd been drinking or smoking. Or both. So should you, I countered, my heart hammering at the intimacy of a late-night phone call. I've been thinking about you? There was no pretense in his admission, no game playing. About Saturday. About how you'll look in that dress. Dante, I want to prepare you for something, Emma. His voice grew more serious. The party will be full of people like your ex. Wealthy, judgmental, cruel. They'll look at you and make assumptions. Some will recognize me and wonder why I'm there. There may be whispers. What kind of whispers? A pause. About who I am, what I do. And what do you do, Dante? I asked quietly. Really? I told you, I solve problems. I run businesses. I protect what's mine. Another pause, longer this time. I'm not a good man, Emma. I want you to understand that. I've done things that would make you run from me if you knew. My breath caught. Are you trying to scare me away? No. The word was almost a growl. I'm trying to be honest with you, to give you a chance to walk away before Saturday, before this goes further. And if I don't want to walk away, silence stretched between us, heavy with meaning. Then you're mine, he said finally. And the possessiveness in his voice made my stomach clench. And I protect what's mine, Emma, always. I don't understand what this is, I admitted. We barely know each other. I know you're kind. I know you're struggling but too proud to ask for help. I know that bastard ex of yours made you feel small when you're anything but. His voice dropped lower. And I know that when I saw you crying in that parking lot, something in me decided you were worth protecting. Worth keeping. People aren't possessions, Dante. No, he agreed. But they can choose to belong to someone. And I'm asking you to choose to belong to me. It was the most insane thing anyone had ever asked me. We'd had one dinner, a few phone calls, some texts. I didn't even know what he really did for a living, though the evasiveness and the bodyguards and the casual display of wealth suggested something I probably shouldn't look at too closely. I'll see you tomorrow at 6, I said instead of answering, and I could hear his smile through the phone. Wear your hair down, he repeated, and hung up. Saturday arrived like an oncoming train. The hair and makeup team appeared at 3 sharp. 2 women who transformed my bathroom into a salon and went to work with professional efficiency. They didn't speak much, but I caught them exchanging glances, whispering. By 5:30, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and didn't recognize myself. My hair fell in soft waves down my back, the highlights I didn't know I had catching the light. My makeup was flawless, dramatic but elegant, making my eyes look huge and mysterious. And the dress made me look like someone important, someone worthy of a man like Dante. My phone buzzed at exactly 6. I'm downstairs. I grabbed my small clutch, also provided by the boutique, and made my way down on shaking legs. The heels made me taller, changed my posture, made me feel powerful in a way I'd never experienced. The Mercedes was parked in front of my building, and Lorenzo stood by the rear door, but it was Dante who stepped out of the car who made my breath stop. He wore a tuxedo that fit him like a second skin, black and perfectly tailored. His hair was styled back, making his sharp features even more pronounced. but it was the way he looked at me that made my knees weak, like I was the only woman in the world, like I was precious and perfect, and his. Emma. My name was a reverent whisper. He crossed to me in 3 strides, his hand settling on my waist. You're breathtaking. The dress is beautiful, I said, my voice shaky. I'm not talking about the dress. His thumb traced the line of my jaw, tilting my face up. Though you were right, it's perfect on you. Dante, if you want to back out, tell me now. His dark eyes searched mine. If this is too much, if you're not ready, we'll go to dinner instead. Just the 2 of us. I won't force you into that room full of vipers. I thought about Marcus, about his smug smile, his cruel invitation, the way he'd looked at me like I was something pitiful, about every time he'd made me feel small, inadequate, not enough. I want to go, I said firmly. I want them to see. Dante's smile was sharp and pleased. Then let's show them what they're missing. The drive to the Metropolitan Club took 20 minutes, and Dante spent it with his hand covering mine, his thumb stroking across my knuckles in a steady, grounding rhythm. He didn't speak much, but his presence was overwhelming, protective and possessive in equal measure. When we pulled up to the club, I saw the valet's eyes widen at the car. The Mercedes wasn't just expensive. It was the kind of vehicle that announced power, importance, danger. Dante exited first, then extended his hand to help me out. The moment my heels touched the pavement, I felt the weight of stairs. Other guests arriving, dressed in their expensive clothes, stopped to look. At the car. At Dante. At me. Head up, Dante murmured, tucking my hand into the crook of his arm. You belong here more than any of them. We walked into the club like we owned it, Lorenzo and another bodyguard falling into step behind us. The engagement party was being held in the main ballroom, a cavernous space dripping with crystal and gold, filled with at least 200 people in formal wear, and every single one of them turned to look when we entered. I felt Dante's arm tense under my hand as conversations died, as whispers started to spread through the crowd like wildfire. His name, Salvatore, rippled through the room, carried on shocked breaths and nervous murmurs. Smile, Dante said softly. Let them look. So I did. I smiled like I belonged there, like I hadn't spent the last 6 months struggling to make rent, like I was exactly the kind of woman who would walk into a party on the arm of Dante Salvatore. Then I saw Marcus. He was standing near the bar with his fiancée, both of them frozen in mid-conversation, staring at me with identical expressions of shock. The glass in Marcus's hand actually slipped, would have fallen if someone hadn't caught it. Where is he? Dante asked, his voice a low rumble. By the bar, with the blonde. Perfect. Dante's hand covered mine on his arm, squeezing gently. Let's get a drink. He guided me across the ballroom with the confidence of a predator, people parting before us like we were royalty. I kept my head high, my smile in place, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. We stopped directly beside Marcus and his fiancée. Emma? Marcus's voice cracked on my name. What are you? I didn't think you'd actually come. You invited me, I said sweetly. It would have been rude to refuse. His eyes darted to Dante, and I watched the color drain from his face. And you are? Dante's smile was all teeth, predatory and cold. Dante Salvatore, Emma's date. He extended his hand, and I watched Marcus hesitate before shaking it. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you'll be very happy together. The words were polite, but the threat underneath them was unmistakable. Marcus pulled his hand back quickly, wiping it on his pants like he'd touched something contaminated. I didn't realize Emma was seeing anyone, the blonde said, and her earlier confidence had evaporated. She clutched Marcus's arm like a lifeline. We prefer to keep our relationship private, Dante said smoothly, his hand moving to the small of my back. The touch was possessive, unmistakable. But Emma insisted on attending tonight to support her ex-boyfriend. She's very kind that way. How long have you two been? Marcus started. Does it matter? Dante's voice grew colder. What matters is that Emma is happy, that she's valued, that she's with someone who recognizes what she's worth. He paused, letting the words sink in. Something you clearly failed to do. The blonde's face flushed red. Marcus looked like he might be sick. "Excuse us," Dante said, guiding me away before they could respond. "I believe our drink is ready." As we walked away, I heard Marcus's voice, low and urgent. "Do you know who that is? Do you have any idea?" We didn't stay to hear the rest. Dante led me to a quiet corner, procuring 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter. His hand never left my back, that possessive touch grounding me as the reality of what just happened sank in. "That was," I started. "Satisfying," Dante finished. "Did you see his face when he recognized me?" "Who are you?" I asked quietly. "Really? Everyone here seems to know your name, and they all look scared." Dante's expression grew serious. He set down his champagne and took both my hands in his, forcing me to face him fully. "I'm exactly what I told you, Emma. I solve problems. I run businesses. And yes, some of those businesses are not entirely legal." He paused, watching my reaction. "I'm what people call a businessman with connections. Powerful connections. Dangerous connections." My heart pounded. "You're in the Mafia. That's such a crude term," he said with a slight smile. "But essentially, yes, I should have run. Should have pulled my hands free, found the nearest exit, called a cab. Any sane woman would have. Instead, I whispered, 'And you brought me here to humiliate my ex?' I brought you here to show him, to show everyone, that you are worth more than he could ever comprehend, that you deserve to be valued, protected, cherished." His grip on my hands tightened. "And yes, to make him regret ever letting you go." "This is insane," I breathed. "Yes," he agreed. "But tell me you didn't enjoy seeing his face. Tell me it didn't feel good to walk in here like you owned the room." I couldn't. Because it had felt good. It had felt incredible. "What happens now?" I asked. Dante's smile was slow and dangerous. Now we dance. We enjoy the party, and we let everyone see that you're mine, and tomorrow..." He leaned closer, his lips nearly brushing my ear. "Tomorrow we figure out what comes next, together." The word mine should have terrified me. Instead, it made me feel safe. The next hour passed in a blur of champagne and whispered conversations, of Dante's hand never leaving my body, my waist, my back, my hand. He kept me close, possessive in a way that should have felt suffocating, but instead made me feel protected, valued. People approached us cautiously, congratulating Marcus and his fiancée, but their eyes kept darting to Dante, to me, curiosity and fear warring on their faces. I heard fragments of whispered conversations as we moved through the crowd. "Salvatore never brings anyone to events. Didn't know he was seeing someone. Poor bastard, stealing from the Salvatores." That last one made me pause, but Dante's hand tightened on my waist, guiding me forward before I could process what I'd heard. "Dance with me," Dante said, leading me to the floor where other couples swayed to a string quartet. It wasn't a question. His arms came around me with practiced ease, one hand settling on my lower back, the other clasping mine. We moved together like we'd done this 1,000 times, his body leading mine with subtle pressure and confidence. "You're very good at this," I murmured, looking up at him. "I was taught young." His dark eyes held mine. "In my family there are certain expectations, certain skills you must master." "What kind of family requires dancing lessons?" "The kind that values tradition, appearance, control." He spun me smoothly, pulling me back against his chest. "The kind that doesn't tolerate weakness or failure." I felt the tension in his body, saw shadows pass through his eyes. "Dante, I need to tell you something," he interrupted, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "About why I brought you here tonight. It's not just about your ex." My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" "Marcus Thornton works for his father's investment firm. What he didn't tell you, what he probably doesn't even fully understand, is that his father has been laundering money. A lot of money. Money that belongs to people I do business with. The world tilted slightly. I don't understand. 3 months ago, Marcus himself stole from one of my associates. $500,000 that he thought he could hide in offshore accounts. Dante's hand stroked up my spine, the touch soothing, even as his words sent ice through my veins. He's been under surveillance ever since. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw you in that parking lot, saw your tears, and I recognized your name. Emma Richardson, the girlfriend Marcus had mentioned to one of my people when we questioned him. The one he'd recently dumped. His jaw tightened. I thought it was interesting timing. I thought perhaps you might know something about his activities. The champagne in my stomach turned to lead. You approached me because you thought I was involved in Marcus's crimes? At first, yes. His honesty should have hurt more than it did. But the moment I looked in your eyes, I knew you had no idea. You were just a woman who'd been hurt by a worthless man, a woman who deserved better. So this whole thing, the dress, the party, the attention, it was all... At first it was reconnaissance, he admitted, pulling me closer even as I tried to put distance between us. But Emma, listen to me. The moment I touched your hand in that parking lot, the moment you looked at me with those eyes, everything changed. You stopped being connected to a case and became mine. I should have slapped him, should have caused a scene, stormed out, never looked back. But his arms around me felt like safety, like home, even as my rational mind screamed that this was wrong, dangerous, insane. I don't know anything about what Marcus did, I said, my voice shaking. I don't know anything about stolen money or offshore accounts. We barely talked about his work when we were together. I know. His hand cupped the back of my neck, thumb stroking the sensitive skin there. I knew that within 5 minutes of talking to you. You're terrible at lying, Emma. It's one of the things I like about you. You lied to me. I omitted certain truths, he corrected. I never lied. Everything I've told you about how I feel, about wanting to protect you, about you being mine, all of that is true. The song ended, but Dante didn't release me. We stood there on the dance floor, other couples swirling around us. While I processed this revelation, I should go, I whispered. You should, he agreed. But you won't. Why are you so sure? His smile was dark, knowing. Because you feel it too. This thing between us, this connection. It's not logical, it's not safe, but it's real. Before I could respond, a commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. Men in suits, FBI, from the badges they were flashing, poured into the ballroom. Leading them was an agent who made a direct line for Marcus. Marcus Thornton, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and embezzlement. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Marcus's fiancée screamed. Guests scattered. The FBI agents moved with practiced efficiency, handcuffing Marcus even as he protested his innocence. Through it all, Dante kept me anchored against him, his body a shield between me and the panic. You did this, I breathed, understanding dawning. You called them. I made a phone call earlier this week, shared certain information with the right people. His expression was hard, cold. The face of a man who'd just destroyed someone's life without remorse. He hurt you, Emma. He humiliated you, and he stole from people under my protection. This is justice. This is revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. He turned me away from the spectacle, guiding me toward a side exit where Lorenzo waited. Let's go. Wait. I can't just leave. The FBI might have questions. They won't. You had nothing to do with Marcus's crimes, and they know it. The evidence I provided was very specific about his solo operation. We reached the exit, cool night air rushing in. Come with me, Emma. Let me take you somewhere quiet. Every instinct screamed that I should refuse, should distance myself from this man who'd orchestrated an arrest at an engagement party like it was nothing. But when I looked into his eyes, I saw not just danger, but desperate need, raw want. Where? I asked. Somewhere we can talk. Really talk. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing across my cheekbone. I want to tell you everything, Emma. All of it. No more omissions, no more half-truths. And then you can decide if you want to walk away or what. Or stay with me. Be mine. Let me protect you and care for you and give you the life you deserve. The Mercedes was already running, Lorenzo holding the door. I looked back at the chaos inside. Marcus being led away in handcuffs, his fiancée sobbing, the party in shambles. Then I looked at Dante, at the promise and danger in his eyes. I got in the car. We didn't go to his penthouse. Instead, Lorenzo drove us out of the city, into the hills where houses became estates, and estates became compounds. The Mercedes turned down a private road, through gates that opened automatically, and up a long driveway lined with trees. The house at the end was magnificent. A sprawling villa with honey-colored stone and arched windows glowing with warm light. It looked like something transported from the Italian countryside. My real home, Dante said as we pulled up. The penthouse is for business. This is where I live. The interior was warmer than the penthouse, with thick rugs and comfortable furniture, art on the walls that looked personal rather than chosen by a decorator. A fire burned in a massive stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows. Dante dismissed Lorenzo with a nod, then shed his tuxedo jacket and rolled up his sleeves. Drink? Something strong, I said, perching on the edge of a sofa. He poured 2 glasses of amber liquid, whiskey from the smell, and settled beside me, closer than necessary. Ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth. I took a sip of whiskey, the burn fortifying my courage. How many people have you killed? He didn't flinch at the question. Personally, 3. All of them deserved it. All of them threatened my family or my people. He paused. I've ordered the deaths of others, more than I care to count, but never innocents, Emma. Never women or children. Never anyone who wasn't deep in the game. And Marcus? Will you kill him? No. Prison will destroy him more thoroughly than a bullet ever could. He'll lose everything. His freedom, his reputation, his fiancée, his future. That's punishment enough. I drained half my glass. Why me, Dante? Really? You could have any woman you want. Women who understand your world, who wouldn't ask questions or have moral complications about what you do. Why a broke barista with a degree she's not using? He set down his glass and took both my hands in his touch gentle despite the violence he'd just admitted to. Because when you looked at me in that parking lot, you didn't see Dante Salvatore, feared crime boss. You saw a man offering help because you're genuine in a world full of people wearing masks, because you're strong even when you feel weak, kind even when the world has been cruel to you. That's not enough reason to... Because I'm falling in love with you, he interrupted, his voice raw. I know it's insane. I know we barely know each other, but I've been watching you this week, Emma. Not just surveillance, really watching. The way you helped an old woman reach something on a high shelf at the grocery store. The way you gave your lunch to a homeless man, even though it meant you went hungry. The way you smiled at children and talked to everyone like they mattered. Tears burned my eyes. You had people watching me? For your protection, he said quickly. After that first night, I couldn't stand the thought of you being vulnerable, unguarded. So yes, I had someone nearby. Always at a distance, never intrusive, but there, making sure you were safe. That's insane. I know. His thumb wiped away a tear that had escaped. But I can't help it. Something in me claimed you that night. And I don't know how to let go. Don't want to let go. I should be terrified of you. You should, he agreed. I'm terrifying. I'm dangerous. I'm possessive and controlling, and I solve problems with violence. But Emma... He leaned closer, his forehead touching mine. I would never hurt you. You are the only soft thing in my entire world. And I will burn down everything to keep you safe. This is crazy, I whispered. Yes. His lips brushed my temple, soft as a prayer. Say you'll give me a chance. Give us a chance. Let me court you properly, show you what it means to be valued, to be protected, to be loved by someone who would move heaven and earth for you. And if I say no... Pain flashed across his face, but he didn't look away. Then Lorenzo will drive you home, and you'll never see me again. I'll have your car maintained, your rent paid for a year, enough money to get on your feet, and I'll disappear from your life completely. You'd let me go? Just like that? It would kill me, he admitted. But I won't force you to stay. You have to choose this, Emma. Choose me. Or choose to walk away. I looked at him. Really looked. At the scars on his knuckles, the hardness in his eyes that softened only when he looked at me, at the danger and the promise wrapped in expensive clothes and lethal grace. This man who'd orchestrated an arrest, who'd admitted to murder, who'd had me watched for my own protection. This man who made me feel precious for the first time in my life. I have conditions, I heard myself say. Hope flared in his eyes. Name them. No more surveillance without telling me. No more orchestrating my life without my knowledge. If we do this, we do it honestly. Done. And you have to tell me the truth about your business, about what you do, about the dangers. I won't be kept in the dark. I'll tell you everything, he promised. Though some truths might frighten you. I'm already frightened, I admitted. But I'm also interested in you. In this, whatever this is. His smile was brilliant, transforming his severe features. Then let me take you on a proper date. Tomorrow, somewhere public, somewhere safe. Let me court you the way you deserve. A date, I repeated, with a mafia boss. With a man who is completely captivated by you. He raised my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Say yes, Emma. I thought about my empty apartment, my struggle to make rent, my lonely dinners and lonelier nights. I thought about Marcus and his cruelty, about all the ways I'd been made to feel small and inadequate. Then I looked at Dante, at the way he watched me like I was the most important thing in his world. Yes, I whispered. He pulled me into his arms, and I went willingly, tucking my head under his chin and breathing in his cedar scent. His heart thundered against my ear, betraying how much my answer meant to him. I'll be good to you, he murmured into my hair. I promise you that. You'll never want for anything, never feel alone, never doubt your worth again. That's a big promise. I keep my promises, Emma, always. We sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other while the fire crackled and the night deepened outside. Eventually, Dante insisted on having Lorenzo drive me home, despite my protests that I could take a cab. What's mine, I protect, he said firmly, already texting his driver. And you are mine now, aren't you? The possessiveness should have bothered me. Instead, it made warmth bloom in my chest. I guess I am, I admitted. His kiss goodnight was soft, reverent, pressed to my forehead like a blessing. Tomorrow, Emma, I'll pick you up at noon, for our proper date, for the first of many. His smile was promise and threat combined. Get used to being spoiled, amore mio. I have a lot of time to make up for. As Lorenzo drove me home through the dark streets, I caught him watching me in the rearview mirror. He's never been like this before, Lorenzo said quietly. In all the years I've worked for him, I've never seen the boss care about anyone the way he cares about you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Lorenzo's smile was slight but genuine. For you? Good. For anyone who tries to hurt you? Very, very bad. I fell asleep that night, still wearing the blue dress, my phone clutched in my hand, waiting for Dante's goodnight text. It came at 2 a.m. Sweet dreams, my Emma. Tomorrow, I show you what forever looks like. I should have been scared. Instead, I'd never felt safer in my life. Sunday morning dawned bright and clear, sunlight streaming through my apartment windows like a promise. I woke still wearing the blue dress, the fabric wrinkled but still beautiful, and for a moment I wondered if the entire night had been a dream. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Dante. Good morning, Bella. Wear something comfortable. I'm taking you somewhere special, very real. Very much not a dream. I showered and changed into jeans and a soft sweater, the nicest casual clothes I owned, and tried to tame my nervous excitement. A date with Dante Salvatore. A proper date, he'd said. What did that even mean for a man like him? At exactly noon, the Mercedes pulled up outside my building. But this time, when I came downstairs, Dante was standing outside the car waiting for me, dressed in dark jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger, more approachable, almost normal. Until you looked in his eyes and saw the predator lurking there. You look beautiful, he said, taking my hand and pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Ready? Where are we going?" "You'll see." He helped me into the car, sliding in beside me. Lorenzo pulled away from the curb, heading north out of the city. We drove for almost an hour, leaving the urban sprawl behind for rolling hills and scattered farms. Dante held my hand the entire time, his thumb tracing idle patterns on my skin, occasionally pointing out landmarks or telling me stories about the area. Finally, we turned down a narrow road that led to a small marina. Boats bobbed gently in their slips, and the air smelled of salt water and freedom. "A boat?" I asked as we parked. "Not just any boat." Dante led me down the dock to a sleek yacht, all white and chrome and expensive curves. "Mine. I come here when I need to think, to get away from the business." The yacht's interior was elegant but comfortable. Cream leather, warm wood, soft lighting. Dante dismissed the small crew with a nod, leaving us alone as the boat pulled away from the dock and headed out into open water. "You can drive this yourself?" I asked, watching him take the helm with practiced ease. "I can do a lot of things, Emma." His smile was warm, genuine. My father insisted all his sons learn to sail, said it taught discipline and respect for forces more powerful than ourselves. "Tell me about your family," I said, settling onto the bench beside him. "Your real family, not the business one." His expression grew complicated, love and pain and loyalty all mixed together. "I have 3 brothers. I'm the second oldest. My father built our organization from nothing, came to this country with only his honor and his determination. He taught us that family is everything, that loyalty is sacred, that we protect our own no matter the cost." "Are you close with them?" "With my brothers, yes. We'd die for each other without hesitation." He adjusted the wheel, guiding us into deeper water. "My father, he's harder, demanding. He expects perfection and accepts nothing less, but he loves us, in his way." "And your mother?" Softness entered his eyes, making him look vulnerable. "She died when I was 15, cancer. My father was never quite the same after." "I'm sorry," I said, touching his arm. He covered my hand with his, squeezing gently. "She would have liked you. She always said I needed someone who could see past the armor, past the reputation, someone genuine." We sailed for another hour, Dante pointing out the coastline, telling me stories about growing up in his world, the good and the bad, the violence and the loyalty, the impossible choices and unbreakable bonds. He didn't sugarcoat anything, didn't try to make his life seem more palatable than it was. Eventually, he anchored in a quiet cove, sheltered and peaceful. The crew had prepared lunch, fresh bread, cheese, fruit, wine, and we ate on the deck under the warm sun. "Can I ask you something?" I said, nibbling on a strawberry. "Anything." "Why did you really help me that night? Beyond the connection to Marcus, beyond reconnaissance. What made you stop?" Dante was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes distant. "My mother," he said finally. "Before she got sick, she worked in a grocery store, just like you work in a coffee shop. She struggled, saved every penny, went without so my brothers and I could have more." He turned to face me fully. "The night I saw you in that parking lot, crying over a flat tire and an empty basket, you reminded me of her strength, her dignity even in difficulty, and I thought, if someone had helped her, had seen her worth, maybe things would have been different." Tears burned my eyes. "Dante, I know I'm not a good man, Emma. I've done terrible things. I'll probably do more terrible things. But with you, you make me want to be better. Not good, maybe, but better." I set down my wine and moved closer to him. Drawn by gravity, I couldn't resist. "I don't need you to be good. I just need you to be honest with me." "Always," he promised, his hand settling on my waist. "I will always be honest with you." "Then tell me what happens now. Where does this go?" His expression grew intense, possessive. "I court you properly. I take you to dinner, to shows, sailing. I learn everything about you, your favorite color, your dreams, what makes you laugh. I show you that you're valued, that you're precious. And when you're ready," he leaned closer, his forehead touching mine, "I marry you." My breath caught. We barely know each other. I know enough. I know you're mine, Emma. I knew it the moment I touched your hand. The rest is just details we'll learn together. That's insane. Yes, he agreed, his lips brushing my temple. But tell me you don't feel it too, this pull between us, this certainty. I couldn't deny it. From the moment he'd looked at me in that parking lot, something had shifted in my universe. This dangerous, powerful man who made me feel safe and precious and wanted in ways I'd never experienced. I feel it, I admitted. But marriage? Dante, I don't even know your favorite color. Blue, he said immediately. The color of the dress I bought you, the color of your eyes in certain light, the color of the ocean on days like this. His hands tightened on my waist. What's yours? Green. Forest green, like the trees around my villa, he finished. I noticed. I'll have flowers delivered to your apartment every week. Green roses, if I can find them. You don't have to. I want to. He kissed my forehead, then my cheek, working his way toward my mouth. Let me take care of you, Emma. Let me spoil you. You've been strong for so long, carrying everything alone. Let me be strong for you now. When his lips finally met mine, it was like coming home. Soft at first, tentative, then deeper as I melted into him. He tasted like wine and promises, his hands gentle despite the strength in them. One hand tangled in my hair, angling my head for better access, while the other pressed against my lower back, holding me close. I'd been kissed before, but I'd never been kissed like this, like I was precious and perfect. And his. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against mine. Marry me, Emma. We just had our first real date. I protested weakly. I don't care. I know what I want, and I want you. Forever. His eyes burned with intensity. I'll wait if I have to. Court you for months. Years if that's what you need. But know that my end goal is you in a white dress, promising yourself to me in front of God and my family. You're impossible. I'm determined. He kissed me again, softer this time. And I always get what I want. We spent the rest of the afternoon on the yacht, talking and kissing and learning each other. Dante told me about his business, the legitimate companies and the less legitimate ones, the power structure and the rules that governed his world. I told him about my dreams of writing, about the novel I'd started and abandoned, about the life I'd imagined before Marcus had made me feel too small to reach for it. You'll write again, Dante said firmly. You'll have time and space and encouragement. I'll make sure of it. You can't just fix everything with money and power. Watch me. His smile was confident, possessive. You're mine to care for now, Emma. That means I make sure you have everything you need to thrive. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, we sailed back to the marina. Lorenzo was waiting, along with another car I didn't recognize, a sleek BMW. For you, Dante said, gesturing to it. Your Honda is not safe enough. This is bulletproof, has GPS tracking, and Lorenzo has programmed his number into the speed dial. Dante, I can't accept a car. You can, and you will. His voice brooked no argument. What's mine, I protect. And until you agree to move in with me, which will happen eventually, I need to know you're safe when we're apart. I should have argued more, should have insisted on maintaining my independence. But the thought of being protected, cared for, valued like this, it was intoxicating. Thank you, I said instead. His smile was triumphant. You're learning. That week fell into a pattern that felt both surreal and natural. Dante took me to dinner every night, sometimes fancy restaurants where everyone knew his name and gave us the best table, sometimes small family-owned places where he was greeted with warm hugs and genuine affection. He introduced me to his world slowly, carefully, always making sure I felt safe. His brothers visited the villa on Wednesday, 3 men who looked like variations of Dante, all dark and dangerous and intensely loyal. They treated me with respect that bordered on reverence, clearly having been warned by Dante about my importance. So you're the one who's made our brother smile, the oldest one, Alessandro said, kissing my hand. We were beginning to think he'd forgotten how. She's special, the youngest Marco added. Dante never brings anyone to the villa. You must be very important. She is, Dante said, his arm possessive around my waist. She's mine. Searle, the middle brother, Luca, studied me with sharp eyes. Do you understand what that means? Being his? Luca, Dante warned. No, it's a fair question. I met Luca's gaze steadily. It means I'm protected, valued. It means I belong to someone who would move heaven and earth to keep me safe. And it means I accept him. All of him, including the parts that aren't easy or clean or simple. Luca's serious expression broke into a smile. She'll do, brother. She'll do very well. Friday night, 2 weeks after we'd met, Dante took me back to the villa. But this time, instead of the comfortable living room, he led me to his bedroom. A massive space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds, a fireplace, and a bed that could sleep 4. Dante, I'm not expecting anything, he said quickly, reading my hesitation. But I want to wake up with you tomorrow. I want to have breakfast together, spend the day together, just be together. Stay the night? Stay the night. Stay the weekend. Stay forever. His hands cupped my face. I know I'm rushing you. I know this is fast. But Emma, I can't stand the nights without you anymore. Can't stand watching Lorenzo drive you away, knowing you're alone in that apartment when you could be here with me. I'm still paying rent on that apartment. I paid it through the end of the year, he admitted, and I've been having people move your things here, slowly, so you wouldn't notice. Your books, your photos, your clothes. They're all in the closet here, waiting. I should have been angry. Should have been furious at this invasion, this presumption. Instead, I laughed. You're absolutely insane. About you? Yes. He pulled me closer, his body warm and solid against mine. Marry me, Emma. Not someday, not eventually. Now, this weekend. Let me make you mine in every way that matters. Dante, I love you. The words were fierce, desperate. I'm completely, irrevocably in love with you. And I know you feel the same. I see it in your eyes every time you look at me. Feel it in the way you kiss me. Stop fighting it. Stop being practical and cautious and sensible. Just, be mine. I looked into his dark eyes and saw my future there. Saw safety and passion and belonging. Saw a man who would burn down the world to keep me safe, who'd orchestrated an arrest to avenge my hurt feelings, who'd slowly moved my entire life into his home because he couldn't stand us being apart. It was insane. It was rushed. It was everything I'd been taught relationships shouldn't be. It was also exactly what I wanted. Yes, I whispered. His expression transformed, shock, joy, fierce possession all flickering across his features. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you this weekend, next month, whenever you want. Because you're right. I do love you. It's crazy and fast and completely illogical, but I love you, Dante Salvatore. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, lifting me off my feet and spinning me around like I weighed nothing. When he set me down, we were both laughing, both crying a little, both overwhelmed by the enormity of what we'd just decided. Saturday, he said firmly. We'll marry on Saturday. Small ceremony, just family. My priest will officiate, and then... His smile turned wicked. Then I'll take you on a proper honeymoon. Somewhere warm and private where I can worship you properly. That night, I slept in Dante's arms for the first time, wrapped in expensive sheets and the scent of cedar. He held me like I was precious, his hand stroking my hair, whispering promises in Italian that I didn't understand but felt in my soul. Saturday arrived with brilliant sunshine and a flurry of activity. Dante's family descended on the villa. His father, a silver-haired man with Dante's eyes and an air of absolute authority. His brothers and their dates, cousins and associates, and people whose roles I couldn't quite define. The ceremony was held in the villa's garden, under an arch of white roses. I wore a simple white dress that Dante had somehow acquired, perfectly fitted, elegant, beautiful. He wore a black suit, his eyes never leaving me as I walked down the aisle to him. The ceremony was in Italian and English both, the priest's words solemn and binding. When Dante slipped the ring on my finger, a platinum band with a single perfect diamond. His hand shook slightly. "With this ring I thee wed," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "and promise to protect you, cherish you, and love you for all my days." "With this ring I thee wed," I repeated, sliding a matching platinum band onto his finger, "and promise to trust you, support you, and love you for all my days." "You may kiss your bride," the priest said with a small smile. Dante cupped my face in both hands, his touch reverent. "Mine," he whispered, "finally, completely mine." "Yours," I agreed. "Always yours." The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise. Behind us, his family erupted in applause and cheers, but I barely heard them. All I could focus on was Dante, on the way he looked at me like I'd hung the moon, on the feeling of rightness that settled over me like a blanket. The reception was loud and joyful, full of food and wine and laughter. Dante's father pulled me aside at one point, his expression serious. "My son is not an easy man to love," he said in accented English. "He's hard, sometimes cruel. His work is dangerous. His enemies are numerous." "I know," I said softly. "But he loves you with everything in him." I've never seen him like this, soft, happy, at peace. He placed his hand over mine. "Welcome to the family, daughter. You're one of us now. Which means we protect you as fiercely as Dante does." That night, Dante carried me over the threshold of his bedroom, our bedroom now, and made love to me with a tenderness that made me cry. He worshipped every inch of me, whispering promises and praise in Italian and English both, showing me with his body what I meant to him. Afterward, we lay tangled together, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. "No regrets?" he asked softly. "None," I said honestly. "You? My only regret is that I didn't find you sooner." He kissed my hair. "But I have you now, and I'm never letting go." 3 months later, I ran into Marcus at a coffee shop, ironically not the one where I used to work. I'd quit that job, was spending my days writing the novel I'd always dreamed of, supported fully by my husband, who'd converted one of the villa's rooms into a perfect office for me. Marcus looked terrible, thinner, older, worn down by legal troubles and public humiliation. He stared at me, at the massive diamond on my finger, at the designer clothes I now wore without thinking. "Emma?" he breathed. "I heard you got married. To Salvatore. Is it true?" "It's true," I said calmly. "Why?" The question burst out of him, desperate. "Why him? Do you know what he is? What he does?" I thought about Dante, about the way he held me at night, the way he encouraged my writing, the way he'd moved heaven and earth to make sure I felt valued every single day. About the family I'd gained, the life I'd built, the love that surrounded me constantly. "I know exactly what he is," I said softly. "And I love him anyway, more than I ever thought possible. He's dangerous. To his enemies, yes," I smiled. "But to me, he's safety. He's home. He's everything I never knew I needed." Marcus looked like he wanted to say more, but what could he say? He'd thrown me away like garbage, and I'd found gold in the ruins. "I hope you're happy," he said finally, and for the first time he sounded sincere. "I am," I said simply. "Happier than I ever was with you. Happier than I ever thought I could be." I left him standing there and walked out to where Lorenzo waited with the car. At home, because the villa was home now, Dante was waiting for me, pacing the entryway like he always did when I went out without him. "You're late," he said, pulling me into his arms. I was worried. I ran into Marcus, his entire body tensed. "Did he hurt you? Threaten you?" He did nothing," I soothed, pressing my hand to his chest. "Just asked if I was happy." "And what did you tell him?" I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him softly. I told him the truth, that I'm happier than I ever thought possible. Because I found someone who sees my worth, who values me, who loves me exactly as I am. Dante's smile was brilliant, transforming his severe features. "Come, I have something to show you." He led me to my office, where a package sat on my desk. Inside was a published copy of my novel, the one I'd finished last month, the one Dante had quietly sent to his publishing contacts without telling me. "It's being released next month," he said, watching my reaction. They want to do a whole series. My wife, the best-selling author. I stared at the book, at my name on the cover, at the dream I'd thought was impossible made real. How did you... I told you, Emma. He pulled me close, his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. What's mine, I take care of. Your dreams are my dreams now. Your happiness is my only goal. I turned in his arms, tears streaming down my face, and kissed him with everything in me. This man, this dangerous, powerful, possessive man, who'd taken my broken pieces and built me a palace. I love you, I whispered against his lips. I love you more, he countered. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. Outside the window, the sun set over the villa grounds, painting everything in shades of gold. Inside, wrapped in my husband's arms, surrounded by the life we'd built together, I finally understood what it meant to be valued, to be protected, to be loved completely, possessively, eternally. Marcus had asked if I had a ring yet, laughing at my empty hand. Now I wore a wedding band that meant everything. And the man who'd put it there would move heaven and earth to keep me safe, happy, and loved. I'd found my forever in a grocery store parking lot, in the dark eyes of a dangerous man who saw my worth when no one else did. And I'd never been more grateful for a flat tire in my life